Yeah. So at first, I like to ask the permission,
Oh,
yeah,
of course,
for
yes.
the recording this session and put on the website for our website for
Okay.
our friends to view.
Okay,
Okay.
yes, of course.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Can you say your name, your legal name, your Buddhist name, please?
Oh, my legal name, Cass Sam Giles.
Okay.
My Buddhist name, Tom Wisdom.
Mhm. So remember that tongueless mean affinity, connection.
Mm.
That's the one that I transmit the five precepts and three refuges. So they have that tongue as the last name,
Oh,
and the other one is wisdom, like you. Yeah. So it's up to you. Can you tell about yourself?
um,
Uh,
well,
Anything you
I
feel comfortable with.
yeah, I mean, I'll say I'll tell as much as I want. You might just get tired of hearing if I go into too much
Mhm.
detail.
That's up to you. Yeah.
Uh, but I suppose my first awareness of Buddhism began when I was in high school, probably 16, 15, 16 years old.
Hmm.
I had a friend, she told me a little bit about it, and she had learned some in school, but she had also learned a lot from her father who had cancer. And when he was dying, he had not really been very religious before. When he was dying, I don't know if he became a Buddhist officially, but I know that he became interested in Buddhism and studied Buddhism and a few other kind of similar paths before he passed away. And because he was studying it and because he was had the cancer, she of course learned about it and shared some of those ideas with me. I mean, basic stuff because we were teenagers. She told me about the concept of the middle way, the middle path, um, and she explained to me how Lord Buddha is not exactly a god, but he's more than a man also. And kind of, she gave me like a rough, not very detailed version of the Buddha's life, like how he was born a prince and gave that up to become enlightened. So those were the first exposures to any Buddhist ideas that I had. And at the time, I was still Christian. My family, of course, and of course, most Western people for many generations are some type of Christian. Um, but the particular kind of Christian that my family is, and they're a kind of Pentecostal, which is what Ty probably knows, but for others, they believe that it's possible for God's Spirit to come into you and you will maybe have visions or be able to have healing powers or they do the speaking in tongues where they start and sometimes they faint and or cry and I respect all of that. The reason it's pertinent to the story is because since that's what I was raised in, I always wanted to experience something like that. I was like I want to feel God's spirit come into me, but it never happened for me. Um, that was one issue, and the other issue, the main reason, more important than that, the main reason I left is because in most versions of Christianity, I know there's some exceptions. In most versions, they believe that anyone who isn't a Christian will go to hell, even if they're a good person. And I could never believe that because even when I was young, I had friends who were other religions. And I was like, I can't believe that a good person will go to hell just because they're a different religion. So um, when I was a teenager and young adult, I tried a few different kinds of churches, a few different kinds of Christians in my families. I went to Catholic churches and things like that. I had a friend who was raised Muslim. I went to the mosque with him a couple of times. But I kept thinking about Buddhism and how, to me, it made the most sense. Um, and so I continued to read about it and meditate. And I guess when I was like 19 or 20, this has only happened to me a couple of times in my life. But when I was 19 or 20, I meditated very deeply. And I had a very deep spiritual experience where I felt connected to something higher than me in a way that I'd always wanted in my family's church, the way that I always expected, the way they said that, if they prayed their way, that I would be connected to God their way. That never happened for me their way. But when I meditated a lot, I had a sort of experience where I suppose it was the Buddha nature or some kind of I know that in a normal person's life before you attain full nirvana, sometimes you can get like a little glimpse, little taste of nirvana, something like that maybe. Or I've read that there's these types of meditation called the yonic meditations. I don't know, but anyway, I meditated enough at that age that I did experience something, and it made a strong impression on me. And so I kept thinking about Buddhism, but I still wouldn't have said I was a Buddhist yet. A couple years later, um, I dated someone who was a really strong atheist and was like, there's nothing, no religion is true, they're all wrong. And because I was dating that person, I tried to believe that way for a little while. For about a year or so, I was like, all religions are wrong. Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, even Buddhism, they're all wrong. And so I tried to believe that way for a while. But no disrespect to any of these other groups. I respect all paths. I respect Christianity still, of course. I like a lot of what Jesus said. And I respect atheists. I think that they also have wisdom. They have a lot of them have a realistic viewpoint of the world. But I think that there is something more to life and the universe than atheists can claim. And also with atheism, I feel like a lot of atheists, not all of them, but a lot of them, instead of having like a particular moral code, they just kind of make up their own path. And um, one of the masters at the other temple I visit, the Theravada temple, he was talking about, the reason that they pray and respect and bow to Buddha is because they believe, even though Buddha isn't quite a god, they believe that it's important to look up to something higher and greater, and that that's a natural, healthy human thing. And I agree with that. So I was only an atheist for a while, and I have been until I took refuge today and followed the precepts. I couldn't officially call myself a Buddhist, but I definitely, uh, I suppose, was like a non-official Buddhist, or at least someone very interested in Buddhism for most of my adult life. Um, 2021, as a result of the pandemic and other things, I had a lot of bad things happen to me, and I questioned Buddhism and kind of lost interest in everything for a bit. I was very depressed for a bit. And in that period, I gave my family's religion and church one more chance, and I still couldn't agree with that. And so I was like, well, no, I used to live in a town where there were no temples. Well, they had temples, but they were only led by lay people. Sometimes they would have a monk visit. But now I live in a town with like 4 or 5 temples, including 2 close to me, your temple and the Theravada temple with Bhante Nanda and his associates. And so I started visiting these 2 temples and being able to speak with the monks, being able to speak with the monks and meet monks and nuns and other lay people who have taken the precepts and understand the Dhamma better than at the temples of my old town where there were no monks. And being in the temple where there's the right kind of environment for prayer and meditation, I feel like all the pieces finally came together, and I was able to see. I'll spend the rest of my life and maybe my next life, coming to realize the full true nature of it all. But I definitely feel like in the last year, I have gotten a much fuller and greater understanding than I had, and it's helped my life a lot. Even before, even when I was younger, and just had an interest in Buddhism, I mean, whenever I would follow the path, things would get better for me. I would have better things happen when I followed the path. I've struggled a lot, like some of the stuff, in Buddhism, they say don't be greedy and things like that. I don't think I've ever been especially greedy, but I did have a problem with anger, and sometimes I still have a problem with anger. But Buddhism helps with anger, um, and other negative emotions and attachments. So that's helped a lot. And when I think about that time in 2021, whenever the bad things happened and I doubted Buddhism, that besides coming to the temples, the other thing that I realized is I was like, I can't say bad things happening to me means Buddhism isn't true because I wasn't really following it correctly. I was kind of following little parts and not the whole thing. Um, so it had helped me a lot even before when I only knew a little bit. And like the more I've learned, the better things have been. I would say the past year-ish, the past around a year has been very happy, very fulfilling. I've had a lot of good things happen. I have a new house that I really like. I have a lot of relationships and even at my job, in the past, I confess I wasn't always a good employee in the past. I wasn't always a good worker. I could be lazy sometimes, and I could not always be friendly enough to have good relationships with all my coworkers. But since I've been following Padama, all of my coworkers like me, even the bosses, even the higher up bosses when they come and visit, they like me. And everyone comments on what a good worker I am and how reliable I am because I'm not lazy anymore since I follow the Buddha's teachings more closely. So my job has been going better. My personal life has been going better. My family life has been going better. I get along better with my parents and other family than I used to. And of course, even though I don't practice the religion, sometimes I visit their church to make them happy because they're my parents. Um, but yeah, my family life is better, my professional life and my home is good. And just in general, I'm more calm when bad things happen. I'm calm. Whenever, someone is mean to me, I don't get angry as often or rarely. Um, and I'm really happy all the time and I feel really fulfilled. Recently, I was thinking about how I feel the most fulfilled I've ever felt in my life. And part of that is because all these other parts of my life I just mentioned are going well, but also being at the temple and being part of the community here. You've invited me to help teach some students on Zoom and also some students here at the temple. And that's very fulfilling because I like to teach young people. I don't have my own kids yet, but I'd like to. But I like teaching young people. So in general, I feel that Buddhism is the correct path. In general, definitely for me, it's the only one that's really helped me, the only one that makes sense to me. Besides the other early teachings I talked about, one of the other early teachings that I learned about that made sense to me is the Kalama Sutta, where Buddha is like, don't just go by anything because you heard it or someone else has said it. Check and see if it works, if it is wise, if it helps people. Check it. And a lot of other beliefs don't say that. They say just take everything on faith. But Buddha's like, no, you don't have to go by the teacher said it, the master said it, the scriptures say it. Find out if it's true, if it's wise, and then go by it or reject it. It says that in the Kama Sutra, and I'm like, that's very rational, and so I always respected that, and I feel like that's what I've done ever since. Is I keep testing things, and I feel like even when I test it rigorously, even when I've been skeptical or had doubts, when I test Buddhism, it always comes back to be true, and my after my testing, you know. Um, and so I've developed a great faith, but unlike, um, you know, some people think that blind faith is good. I'm not so fond of blind faith. I feel like because Buddhism encourages you to test it, but it also encourages faith, I have developed a faith that I feel like is informed and makes sense, which I enjoy a lot.
Good. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful for your explanation. Can you give one specific example when you say you test about the authenticity of Buddhism? That the Buddha say you need to test first before you believe. Can you give one example?
Well, one more mundane example, I suppose, is just practicing the meditation and the breathing, those things definitely work. You do the breathing exercises, you do the mindfulness meditation or the loving kindness meditation or any of those, and it definitely, well, the mindfulness and the breathing meditation definitely help you be more calm, and the loving kindness metta meditation definitely help you be more loving and patient with others. Like I said earlier, that in the past I've had a problem with anger. One thing that helps is, if someone is causing me a lot of problems or causing someone else a lot of problems, because usually if I get mad, it's not always even that someone's hurting me, it's when I see someone hurting others that I get mad. But either way, when I get mad with someone, I do the loving kindness meditation or some version of it, and think about the related teachings of how, everyone, even our worst, not enemy, because we don't really have enemies, but even the most difficult people are, in a way, they're us, and they're our own mothers, and they're like our own babies, and maybe literally in a past life, and maybe also in the sense that, there's really no self, there's no separation between us. Truly, the separation between individuals is kind of an illusion. So really, when someone is difficult, it's almost like it's a part of yourself that's difficult. Or like I said, even if you don't like, the way it's been taught to me some is with the loving kindness meditation, you don't just love others the way you love yourself, because some people don't like themselves. So they say, try to love other people like you love your own mother, or like you're a mother loving your own baby, or think of like a teacher that you loved, or a dead grandma or an uncle. I'll get emotional if I talk about it. But one of the more powerful ways that I can think of it is, if I think of people, not just difficult people, but also, strangers, people who I otherwise might not care so much about. I try to think of them all as like a dead a dead loved one, because it's you know because it's when someone has passed away, you can't really do anything else for them, but you wish you could. Um, so I feel like if I help other people, or at least don't hurt them, it's like I'm doing that for someone I love who passed away, and that's powerful for me.
Yeah, no question is that, like you say, that all the tradition, they focus on the faith, that blind faith, that you could not question anything.
Yeah,
But Buddhism gives you that kind of flexibility. You should question that. We encourage you to ask questions
yeah.
until you doubt all, until all, you clear all the doubt. You can that part. Is that? Can you give that type of experience?
Yeah.
How to deal with that?
I mean, connecting even more to what you just said, and the question is, even if I don't trust my own senses, even with like science, a lot of modern science, they've even proven.
They took me.
Uh, with a lot of modern science, they've even proven the benefits of meditation. Like recently, you talked about, and I had also seen that article where they say meditation, according to some studies, is just as good for the mental health as a lot of medicines they tested. And I've seen Buddhist monks actually get the MRIs and brain scans, and you can prove with science that their minds have unique special qualities and powers that other people don't have, as far as like calmness and kindness. That can be proven. And besides the meditation, of course, also just like the morals and ethics, I feel like, you can test them and they work. I mean, a lot of them are universal, like no stealing or killing. Um, but yeah, these things, if you follow them, you can tell that your life is better. And even some of I've discussed this in the Dharma class. even some of the more supernatural things that I know other people, even maybe some other people in the Sangha, might still not quite believe. I have faith in, because there have been times where I've been in danger, or really needing help, and I pray to the Bodhisattva for help, and you know, what I've needed has happened, like uh, like a job, or also like whenever there's another thing I don't like to talk about because it was scary, but the men attacked me once, and I feel like when I was praying that was why the cops showed up when they did. Um, and this is, I don't like to remember this memory very much, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's already in my mind. Whenever I was being attacked, not only did the cops show up when I was praying, but I had, it's not a very sharp knife. I mostly just use it for opening boxes. Um, but I had a knife on my keychain, and when the men were attacking me, I thought in my mind for a moment that I would try to use the knife, and I heard a woman's voice in my head say, "No, no, no, just be still." And so I was just still, and I wonder if that was the Bodhisattva who told me to just be still and not try to fight that way. And just things like that. So I have great faith now, um, not just in like the normal aspects that can be proven, but even the supernatural stuff. I know I can't cause others to believe it really, who are very skeptical, but I consider myself a skeptical person who prefers things that can be proven with science. But even the stuff science can't prove, even the stuff about, you know, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas having supernormal or supernatural abilities, I even believe those things because I feel like my prayers have been answered before. I hope that answers your
Oh,
question.
that's wonderful. So how did you feel after this ceremony of taking 3 pieces of 5 pieces? How did you feel?
Very good. I had said before the the taking refuge chant. I don't know if it was ever part of an official ceremony before, but I had said the chant before. I'm doing it with a master, and like a ceremony was very special. And I had tried to follow the 5 precepts before, but I had never made a vow of following them. So I'm happy to have done that because I feel like, you know, I feel like anybody, whether they're Buddhist or not, can of course learn and benefit from the Buddha's teachings. But I'm happy that now I can call myself officially a Buddhist instead of just someone who likes Buddhism, because I feel like it's a special thing.
Mhm. So how do you feel about an environment here, about our communities here?
Oh man, I can't say enough nice things, honestly, Ty. This temple is awesome, excellent, wonderful. Um, I mean, every aspect of it, I feel very positive about. I mean the surface level, material level, generally doesn't matter. We're taught, and I understand that, but starting at the material level, the temple, like as an architecture and decorations, is very beautiful. Which I do think that has a level of importance to honor the Buddha and to also, you know, provide a good environment for people to practice. So that is wonderful. But the teachers are wonderful. Yourself, Yao Gao, who I know has gone to New Jersey for some months, but it's my understanding he'll be back. Yao Fat, whenever he comes to visit, is very wise. He and I had a really excellent conversation about the Heart Sutra because even though it's an advanced sutra, I found out about it when I knew less and have studied it a lot, and my understanding of it has grown. But you know, like with anything, learning from a teacher is more beneficial than learning by yourself. And so when I talked to Chiao Pap about it, he had some really interesting insights that I keep thinking about. And Suka Diao Tham, who lives in California now, but when she was here at the temple, she was very great. I remember her around the parents' celebration. I don't think it was the day of the parent celebration, but it was close to it. She taught a Dharma lesson that was in both Vietnamese and English that I thought was interesting. Um, and gave me things to think about. And yeah, the community is wonderful. All the lay people. Aaron, who just walked by, he's cool. He helps tutor, do other cool things. Annie is great. Mr. and Mrs. Wynn. I know there's a lot of last people with the last name Wynn, but specifically, I mean, Tim and Christy are the English names. I don't know Tim's Vietnamese name, but I think that Christy's is like Hang, um, Hang Nguyen. Anyway, they're really nice. Um, Mia or Han or Hong, she does the tutoring. She's good, very great. Yeah, and also with the tutoring, Johnson is a good tutor, and his brother Jackson, his little brother, very cute. Oh man, I was telling people at work how cute and fun the little kids are. I mean, the older kids are also cool to teach because they ask, the big questions about history and science, but the little kids, even though they work on simpler things, like they're still very rewarding because of course everyone likes little kids, or not everyone, but most people.
So yeah, we have at least 3 or 4 centers, Buddhist center in
Mhm.
town. So you have gone to the Theravada
Yeah, I've gone to
temple.
the Theravada one many times. I usually go there once or twice a week, and this one once or twice a week also. I
Mhm.
went to the other Mahayana one that's also led by Vietnamese people here in town, but I've only been there once. It's also nice. I'm used to this one, and this one's a little closer. I do like it that when they have a cat, the cat who lives in the temple, because I love
Mhm.
cats. I visited the Vajrayana, the Tibetan temple once, but it's very far from me. It's like on the northeast part of
Mhm.
town, and I live in the southwest part of town. Um, but it also seemed nice. I got the mala I'm wearing now, I bought there, but I'm glad to have been gifted these others.
So you feel comfortable to come here then the Art Center, or you just come whenever you feel convenient to go?
I always try to make the Wednesday English instruction at the Sri Lankan led Theravada temple that's on Wednesdays, and I always try to make the English lesson here on Fridays. Other parts of the week, I may not come for like a lesson because there's not necessarily an English language lesson, and I don't know um, Vietnamese or Sinhala. Um, but I do come to both temples when there's not a lesson, just to pray or meditate, or recently to do the tutoring. But yeah, I come and pray and meditate whenever. Recently, I had to change jobs. Not super recently, it's been a few months, but a few months ago when I needed to change jobs, I came and I prayed and meditated by myself in the Buddha Hall. Or if I have a friend who I'm thinking about and worrying about, I'll come and I'll pray and I'll meditate and ask Kwan Avalokiteshvara to help that person. So yeah, I come here besides when there's an English lesson. Sometimes I come on Sundays because I like to see the greater community of lay people and see the Dharma teaching. But it's mostly not in English, so I mostly just come there to like enjoy the atmosphere and company, since I don't understand the Vietnamese, but I do like it. Of course, I always try to make the holidays too. At the other temple, the Theravada temple, I went to the Kathina, which is a big Theravada holiday. And I've gone to pretty much every holiday here, except for Amitabha Buddha Day, because my family needed me on that day. But all the other ones, the Parents Appreciation, definitely Kwan Am Day, because I love Kwan Am, Avalokiteshvara, the Fall Festival, the Autumn Festival, I don't remember what it was called exactly. And of course, the Lunar New Year today, which is when this is being recorded. Oh, well, this is Lunar New Year's Eve, and tomorrow is Lunar New Year's Day.
How about uh, so you attend our Friday evening session? this is helpful for you to learn a lot about
Oh yeah,
Buddhism.
definitely, definitely. It's helpful to learn from you and from the text, and it's also helpful to be around the other lay people who have a earnest desire to learn, and we all discuss together with your guidance, and that's very
Mhm.
beneficial.
So how about your family or your parents, whoever, how do you feel about you think that you are Buddhist, but they go to Christian church? Any conflict there? You want
Um,
to make a compromises?
I honestly just don't talk about it with them anymore. I feel like I don't think there would be a lot of benefit to discussing it a lot because they're very committed to the Christian path, um, and I certainly don't think that they would change from that. I do, however, think about my. I have a grandfather who I never met because he died before I was born. He actually committed uh, suicide, and because of that, people in my family because in the Christian it's obviously bad in Buddhism too and all religions, but in the Christian religion, many people believe that if you do that, you go to hell forever, and there's no hope for you. But since in Buddhism, even if you go to hell, you can eventually come out and have another life, another chance. I pray the Namo Abhitaba Buddhaya, the Namo Adidaphat for him that he will be free from suffering, and that means a lot to me. The rest of my family, I suppose, since they want to go to Christian heaven, I hope that's what happens for them. But because in Buddhism, it talks about there being various devas and various heavens, and I suppose it's possible that their religion they will have something more or less what they expect. But I still prefer the idea of nirvana because I think that Buddha and nirvana sounds better for
Mhm.
me at least. I won't try to convince anyone else who feels different.
So here, yeah, we have a Buddhist communities, but more suppose Asian, Vietnamese, and so forth. For
Mhm.
American Buddhist people, hardly a few of you guys. So you feel that um, our community support you so that you can walk on the path.
Mhm.
And always it's not easy out
Mhm.
there because most of them are Christian,
Yeah,
are Catholics. So
yeah.
you feel any kind of uneasiness when you say yourself that oh I'm Buddhist to other non-Buddhist people
Mm,
around, whether at work, on the community, or you don't care much.
yeah, I try to not if people ask me about it because I usually will wear I'll usually wear the necklace that has the Shakyamuni Buddha on it. So sometimes people will ask me about that. Or sometimes because it's normal to talk about what you do in your life, and everybody has holidays. Sometimes I talk about, oh, I was tutoring at the temple, or I'll be like, oh, I have a holiday, and so I don't go out of my way to mention it, but when it naturally comes up, I definitely tell people, especially if they have questions and ask about it. And nobody has been mean. Some people react like they think it's strange, especially since I'm not Asian, and that's who they usually expect to be Buddhist. So some people are surprised, some people think it's strange, but usually people are polite, and sometimes people ask questions. And I like when people ask questions because I would like to share with them, because even if they don't become Buddhist, if I tell them something, maybe they'll find it useful, or at the very least, if they know a person who's Buddhist and is a person that they like, they will respect Buddhism more and think of it as like a normal thing, not like some unusual thing.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. And also, one of the questions you probably encounter this too. One of the questions I get a lot is who is the fat Buddha? And I'm like, he's
Mm-hmm.
not the main Buddha. He's a Buddha, but he's not. he's not the Shakyamuni Buddha. He's not Gautama Siddhartha. So I explain that to people a lot. I'd say that's the number one thing people don't know. But besides that, it's usually other people are polite, of course, and sometimes they're interested, and sometimes they're not so interested. But usually they're polite, and even if they're not polite, I just change the subject. And I try to find common ground with them because, of course, a lot of the teachings in Buddhism are teachings that other people believe, like no lying, no killing, no stealing, no sexual misconduct. Those are pretty much universal rules. I was talking about the precepts with Bhante and Dasada at the Theravada temple recently about some of these same things, and he was talking. He and I were talking about how some of these rules are universal, in which case um, people can relate. And also our lives are pretty normal. We still do normal things, like we like the after school program is something that churches also do, or other places of worship like mosques or mandirs or whatever. They also do similar things and stuff in the community.
But all the temple is very rare to do this type of activities.
Yeah,
All the
yeah,
churches, that's okay, but not the Buddhist center, because most of the time they don't have resources.
yeah.
They
I
don't have
understand.
manpower. So,
Yeah, I think this is the only one in town that has the resources to do
not
that
in
sort of thing
town, in the
in the
probably in the
world.
country and
Yeah,
too, because
yeah,
like, we put a lot of effort to run this kind of after school program
yeah,
to include everyone, to help ourselves, help the younger generation.
yeah. Well, like the other main temple I go to, I've talked with them about how they're part of a bigger association that does a lot of charity work in Asia, like in Sri Lanka and Thailand and Burma or Myanmar, Cambodia. They do a lot of charity stuff there, but they don't have the resources to do it here, and that's understandable because everything's more expensive here and there's less Buddhists here.
That's why. That's why we really appreciate that.
Yeah,
You get involved. You
yeah.
feel comfortable to get involved in our activities
Definitely.
here.
Yeah, it's very fulfilling. It makes me very happy because, um a lot of people live their lives feeling like they don't have any kind of purpose or meaning. They don't feel like they have any and make any difference. I don't feel like that at all. Even before, I didn't really feel like that, but since some of the community stuff, like especially the tutoring, like helping kids learn is something that you find meaning and fulfillment in like instantly. It's not like, some things that you work on for years and years and years, and then you feel fulfillment or meaning. It's like something like immediately you do it, you help a kid learn something, and you feel meaning and fulfillment right away. So that's very
Yeah.
important.
But sometimes people think that, oh, after work I'm so tired. I need to rest myself. I need to enjoy my life instead of spend time for other people,
Yeah.
especially the children, for communities.
Yeah. Well, if you were asking me to like build a house, I would probably also feel that way, since I only have so much energy. But something like teaching doesn't take that much energy for me. It's like, what would I be doing if I went home? Watch TV? That's boring. I don't
That's
like a lot of TV.
wonderful. That's what we call in Buddhism, especially Mahayana Buddhism.
Uh-huh.
We talk about the Bodhisattva path.
Uh-huh.
We help ourselves and help others. Like you
Exactly.
mentioned that when we see people suffering, we cannot stand
Yeah.
still. We need to step out to help.
Yeah.
We take other people's happiness as our happiness. That
Exactly.
is Buddhist power path.
Hmm.
To engage in society. Uh, there's many people think that, oh, for Buddhist monk, now we need to stay in the mountain, in forest,
Yeah.
in seclusion to stay away from society. But that's not the case in Mahayana tradition.
Hmm.
Yes, we still have time to spend for ourselves, to do our self cultivation, but not the time we need to step out for others.
Hmm.
And that's what we call self benefit and benefiting others.
Yeah.
So that Buddhism path. And later on, if you learn more about Buddhism precept, Buddhism path, I think it's more suitable for you
Yeah.
than others.
I have a little bit of knowledge about that, and that's why I have considered myself more close to Mahayana Buddhism, and why I chose to take the precepts here instead of a different temple, because I of course respect all Buddhism, all monastics, whether they're Theravada, Mahayana, Vajrayana, or like the Ambedkar Buddhists. All of them I respect their paths, but the Mahayana I agree with the most, and most of it is the Bodhisattva path, the focus on helping others, and you know, I of course want to follow Shakyamuni Buddha, but I also think a lot about Avalokiteshvara, Kwan Am, and I also think a lot about the old Sanskrit name is Siddhigarbha, but I don't know the Vietnamese name. But he's like the Earth Store Buddha. He or not Buddha, Bodhisattva. He also always comes back to help people. So he and Kwan Am, I think about a lot and want to emulate.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful for you. I'm so happy that you take this initial step.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first step ever to work on the spiritual path.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that Buddhism will be happy for you in the long term. And anytime you can come, you can discuss. Any doubt, again, Buddhism welcome the doubts,
Mm-hmm.
the question.
Mm-hmm.
The more doubt you have, the better. So that after you clear up your doubt, you understand more about what you want to do for your life. You clear up that type of doubt so that you can have more wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
This is like in the philosophy class. So that's why Buddhism is so rational.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to follow blindly due to question.
Mm-hmm.
And when you clear that, those questions, you understand more about this. And I hope that this the initial step will be the foundation for you to move up, uh, especially the path of Bodhisattva.
Mm-hmm.
So you can help yourself help others. Thank you. Thanks for
Thank you very much.
letting me to interview you, and I'm so glad that you're one of our family members.
Thank you. Thank you.
Like
Likewise.
George and whoever, they have taken to this precept so many years, but this you are the first one that have this type of direct interview. And again, thanks for allowing me to record this session so that we can put on the website to share with others.
Okay. Thank you
All
so
right,
much. I
so
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Always
Oh,
happy.
thank you.